everybody. How are you doing? This is the Aviation Nut. Today we're in a Piper Arrow 3. This is the Just Flight Arrow 3. And it's very similar to the one I actually use in real life. In fact, I'm even going to be using the same tail number that I rent. We're going to be flying from Dillon Hopkins in Keene, New Hampshire, back to Norwood Airport, just south of Boston. It's going to be a very short flight. I did the nav log. It's about a half-hour trip. I actually already did a flight to Dillon Hopkins because one of the things I'm doing is just testing out say intentions on this. Say intentions is an AI ATC simulator. One of the things that I'm trying to do is make this as close to real life as possible. A lot of it is really just to keep myself kind of current and not rusty in my radio calls while I'm and procedures while I'm in the middle of the winter time. I mean, we're just starting to thaw now. In fact, I am planning a real life trip to Keene, New Hampshire this weekend. So this is sort of, you could call this a tech rehearsal of that. So say intentions. This is literally my first day on say intentions. So far, it's been all right. There's a few things I was expecting. It's the responses are going to be just a little bit delayed because it's it takes a lot of work to power an AI and get a response from AI. First, I know what it's doing in the background. It's taking your prompt basically, which is your speech, and it has to first translate your speech to text, and then use that as a prompt for the simulation, and then it has to go in, find a proper response back, and then translate that back to speech. So there's a lot going on, and it usually takes about 4 to 5 seconds. In real life, usually you get a response from ATC within a second. So it is something that I have to get used to. And of course, I use VATSIM a lot as well. And VATSIM, of course, is as in terms of procedures and voices and everything, it's as real as it gets. The only problem with VATSIM is unless you're at an event or there's something that some group decides to do some good coverage. The top-down model, you kind of lose a little bit of what you should expect in real life. There's a lot more handoffs in real life when you're not in a top-down model. If it's only Boston Center that's open, Boston Center would be doing Norwood Tower and Boston Approach and Boston Center throughout your whole process. So that's not ideal. That being said, I do appreciate the fact that there's real life people and real life traffic, with you. So if I had a choice between, say, intentions and VATSIM with good coverage, I would take VATSIM any day. But here I'm just trying out, say, intentions. Another thing that I found a little bit I was not very keen on is its chatter simulation. So, say intentions comes with chatter, um, which kind of helps you immerse yourself with other traffic that isn't actually there, but it at least gives you a feeling that you are not alone. um, and say intentions has said, hey, they try to make it as contextual as possible. So, for example, if you are tuned to a center controller, you should hear center communication. You shouldn't hear stuff like clear to land, because center doesn't clear anybody to land. That's what tower does. So, and if you're on a traffic advisory, you should only hear traffic chatter, position reports, stuff like that. Um, what I found a little bit, not very, I wasn't very happy with, was it didn't seem to be very contextual to the airport. So, for example, or the situation. For example, I was at Norwood and I saw, that according to the ATIS, the active runway was 35, and in the chatter they had somebody taking off runway 17, and it's, if everybody else is taking off 35 and that's what the ATIS is, it's very unlikely you're going to have traffic actually ever taking 17, unless there's some mitigating circumstance. And then, so far, and I did get flight following on the way, and we're going to do that on the way here, as on the way back to Norwood as well. There were a couple little weird things going on with flight following, where sometimes it seemed like the controller was repeating instructions unnecessarily, and even repeating the same radar contact. So when I first got flight following, I was 5 miles north of Norwood. I had just departed, and I asked Boston Approach, and they told me, squawk this code, ident, which I did, and then they said radar contact, you're over, say, Minuteman Field or whatever it was, and that was that. And then later on, first of all, they handed me to Nashua Approach, which seemed a little bit strange to me. I was not expecting Nashua Approach. First of all, I don't think Nashua has an approach, a TRACON controller, because it's a Class Delta. I would expect they would tell me to contact another sector of Boston Approach or even Boston Center. But instead they said Nashua Approach. And then when I tuned to Nashua Approach, they gave me the same exact radar contact transmission saying that I'm over Minuteman Field, which was absolutely incorrect. So that's probably just, I'm familiar with AI concepts. I think what it was doing was just repeating the same response incorrectly. It's a very common thing with AI. ChatGPT does it. I think even DeepSeek does it. It's not it's one of the few. It's one of the bugs that a lot of AIs have. Another thing that I'm expecting is a little bit of hallucination, which means it's just going to give very irrelevant information. It might even tell me, "Hey, you're clear to land in Los Angeles," or something very silly like that no human controller would ever say. But I would expect it to be kind of minimal. So a few things here. I really wanted to try this out, mainly, just to give myself just a little bit of extra practice before my weekend flight. So I'm doing daytime right now, even though it's 10:24 p.m. It's let's see. if I go over here, I'm pretty sure. Oh, right now it's 2:25 p.m. That's I wasn't expecting that actually. I was thinking it was going to be. Thought it was going to be 10:25 a.m. But I guess I must have done that wrong. That's no biggie though. And it's also, the weather is awful right now. It's all overcast. However, one thing that I discovered is, Say Intentions really only looks at live weather. You have a choice between active sky and just real weather. I don't have active sky at the moment. I think I might have a very old version, but I don't feel like getting back to it. So the weather information is going to give completely incorrect information. It's going to say it's overcast at 7,000. That's okay though. I'm not really worried about that, as long as they are able to give me VFR flight following. If the clouds are at 7,000 and I'm at 5,500, so be it. So we'll see how this goes. So I've already done most of the pre-flight, so I'm just going to start this thing up, and we will program our flight. Like I said, I try to do this as close to real life as possible. Obviously, there's no fuel sumps or anything like that. One thing I've noticed is I tend to, and this is a checklist item, so it's good. I tend to somehow accidentally click some of these circuit breaker buttons every once in a while, so I always have to keep tabs on that. In any case, this isn't a good sign. The fact that this thing is turned off. Okay, well, I've already checked the fuel as part of my pre-flight, so I should be all set here. I'm hoping I didn't somehow drain the battery. I left the flight simulator on during this turnaround, so. Alright, so with that being said, let's get this thing started. So, okay, good. We got batteries, so I'm gonna turn the throttle like this, and I'm going to turn the fuel pump on. I'm gonna make sure the fuel pressure is up. Yep, 1, 2, 3. And then what I typically do is open this flap and just call out clear prop. I'm not going to do that in real life, because I'm not going to yell it in real life, just because it's late and the family is in bed upstairs. So at this point, I'm just going to turn it on now. And there we go. All right, oil pressure's good. One thing I did forget as part of my pre-flight, which you can ignore, is I forgot to clear the chocks. Let's just pretend I did that as part of my pre-flight, but yeah. In real life, it's to me, it's much harder to forget stuff like that, just because I am very vigilant about doing a very thorough walk around. It doesn't matter if I just left to get a bite to eat. I always go back, I do a quick look around, I make sure everything, there's no puddles of fluid under anything. It's, I'm very thorough with the pre-flight. I've caught so many things during my training. Sometimes there'd be,
Cessna 167 Foxtrot 9 are clear of the active turning right crosswind runway 25.
Yeah, so there you go. runway 25. There is no runway 25 at King. And yes, I understand that CTAF is shared among many regional airports in the vicinity. And that's one thing about CTAF. That's you really have to keep your you really have to pay attention because you're going to hear some calls from people who are 50 miles away at another airport sometimes. Anyways, so with that said, okay, I'm going to lean the mixture. I don't want to foul our spark plugs while I'm talking here. Okay, so I'm talking too much. Let's save ourselves some hob hours and get this thing on the road. So I am going to turn on our automated weather.
Per observation, 0156 Zulu. Wind 330 at 5. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, scattered at 5500 feet. Solid overcast at 10,000 feet. Temperature 2. Dew point -4. Altimeter 3004. Density altitude -1000 feet. Dylan Hop.
So yeah, you can see the weather is it's listening. It's reporting the weather as it is in real life, and I've got the simulated clear skies weather right now. So that's just something I'm gonna have to pay attention to. And honestly, the real life weather is not that bad for VFR. The clouds are high enough to have a safe flight, but in fact, all right, fine. Let's just do it. Live weather. Let's see how this goes. It's gonna download. Okay. Yeah, that. I guess that should be fine. I was gonna fly at 5500, but if that's where the scattered layer is, I guess I'll have to settle for something else. I'll cheat on the okay. Alright, so I've already got this tuned. 123 is the CTAF frequency, and then I should expect 124.9er for flight following. I think it's going to be Nashua approach again, but I'm going to see what happens if I call them Boston approach. So if the winds are 330, that's a good thing because that means I can take runway 32, which is much closer and much more manageable. I was worried I would have to take runway 2, which at Keene basically takes you almost all the way to New Hampshire, or all the way to Massachusetts rather. So I'm going to turn the fuel pump off. Alright, let's just make sure here we've got the fuel is looking good. It's low
Piper 38
left.
Alpha Golf turning final for runway 30 full
So
stop.
one thing I'm actually going to do, this is part of the checklist, I'm going to set the fuel to the left tank. I'm going to switch it back to the right tank as part of the run-up. So, the run-up, obviously, if you're in a simulator, the airplane is perfect. You typically, if you did all of your other checklist items, the run-up wouldn't be necessary, but, I like to simulate real life, and in real life, things can go wrong. You might have a bad magneto, you might have really fouled spark plugs, and you want to check all of that before you actually get onto the runway. So let me follow the path here. So I'm going to be crossing this runway coming up, and I'll put that into CTAF here. Dylan Hopkins traffic, arrow 814 November Delta, crossing 20 at Alpha. Dylan Hopkins. So, clear left, clear right, clear cross. Okay. In reality, for the simulator, I don't actually have to clear the runway because I have no traffic set right now, but once again, I'm trying to maintain real life habits, and that's what I have to do in real life. The thing about uncontrolled airports is I don't have numbers percentage-wise how many people are not on radios, but there is enough that it can be kind of jarring where you're at an airport, you hear no traffic reports, and then all of a sudden there is a Piper Cub coming in to land, and you really have to be very observant, and you have to assume that either you have the wrong frequency, which can happen, or you have somebody who is completely Nordo at an uncontrolled airport, and that's just a fact of life. There are some people who don't have radios, and there's different there's different lines of thought on whether we should change that and say, look, if you're at your own private airport, you can do whatever you want, but if you're at any of these public airports, you really should, it should be a requirement to have a radio, but that's a thought for another day. So alright, let's see where I should do my run up here.
Diamond Star 5690, departing runway 28, straight out departure.
Cherokee 27 Echo on final for runway 28. I'll touch down and clear the active before you depart.
Sounds good. I'll start my roll once you're clear.
Yeah, so one thing that's annoying about the chatter for CTAF is the simulated aircraft here. They don't even identify what airport they're at. So they're just gonna say, so and so at runway 28 taking off. And it's like, okay, that's not a proper CTAF call. You need to say what airport you're at. That's very important information at a advisory. So it's a little I don't know. It's probably, so far, that's probably my least favorite part of this say intentions, but I might tweak the chatter a little bit, see if I could improve it, with the settings. There's a few settings available for chatter, and maybe certain settings will make it a little bit better. So I'll reserve all of my judgment until I've done that. So now we're approaching runway 32. So what I'm gonna do is take it over to here. So I like to take it into a 45-degree angle. Alright, mixture rich. Fuel pump on. Fuel to the right, and that's what we're going to take off with. And now we're going to rev this up to about 2,000 RPM. Alright, we're going to do the magneto check first. So left magneto, we've got a roughly, I don't know, okay, that's about 100 or 100 RPMs, okay. Bring it back up, and it returns to 2000. And then I'll do the same for the left magneto. And then bring it back up. One thing you'll notice is I'll have to check if this is true for all of the aircraft, but the right and the left are swapped. Alright, we exercise the propeller. One thing that I do in real life is I check for any signs that there's oil spewing out of the prop. That would be an immediate return to the FBO, and I'd be stranded at King if that happened in real life. I don't know. I'd have to call the rental company and just ask them what to do there. Come rescue me. That would be a very expensive Uber. Alright, so now we've completed our rung up. We've done the all the checks that we needed to do. So now we're gonna do our
Diamond 619er Kilo Echo midfield, right runway 18, touch and go.
Yeah, that's not my airport. There's no 18 at this airport. Dylan Hopkins traffic, Aero 814 November Delta, taking 32 south departure, Dylan Hopkins. Alright, so lights, camera, action. I did forget to do a clear left there before I left. It's kind of muscle memory for me in real life. It's really a head swivel. So, but in the simulator, it's a little more deliberate. You have to kind of move your mouse a little bit here. Okay, oh, jeez, what happened there? That's weird. That was very weird. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Alright. So I'm gonna trim us out for this climb here. Gear up. So, when you're in a jet, you typically do gear up right as soon as you confirm positive rate. In a smaller prop like this, you typically do gear up at basically when you've run out of usable runway. So if you have an engine out and you have some usable runway left, it's much better to just, have the gear down so you can just land back at the runway. Once you've left that threshold, then you raise the gear. One thing you might have also noticed is I'm not going into climb cruise until I've reached 1,000 feet. That's another school of thought. Some people teach that you should do it as soon as possible. My flight instructor for the complex told me it's not going to kill the airplane if you keep everything to the max until 1,000 feet above ground. And he likes to keep everything, like, you know, basically what he says is, if most of the time you're going to run into engine problems if you are changing things. If you're changing the prop RPM, if you're changing the mixture, if you're playing around with other stuff, that's when stuff kind of tends to go bad. And so it's
Diamond 619er Kilo Echo, right downwind, runway 18.
Yeah, you already said that. How long is this downwind you're on there? Yeah, the AI is not perfect. So anyways, so yeah, his idea is, if you have engine problems, it's better to have them at 1,000 feet, where you have a lot more options than if you are fiddling with stuff at 400 feet, and you know, you just don't want to have that. And you know, we'll that's sort of what I've adopted, and I'm sure, because this is YouTube and we've got keyboard warriors who are, you know, oh, I'm at 5,000 feet already, or 5,500 feet already. That was quicker than I was expecting. Is my altimeter correct? Alright, well, now I'm out of airspace, so I'm gonna go back to Boston Approach and just talk to them. First, let me just get everything situated here. So I'm going to bring this down to a manifold pressure of 2,400 or so. That's what I planned during the pre-flight. And I need to trim this down. So one thing you'll notice is, yeah, I busted my 5,500 feet for this return trip here. I just have to correct it. Alright, so we're going to make our first radio call to AIATC. So before we were only on CTAF, and now we're actually going to talk to a bot in Boston Approach, or maybe they'll say Nashua Approach. We will see when I talk to them, but I'm going to say, well, we'll see how we do here. My flight following calls in real life are not always the best. I tend to miss a little bit of stuff, and I tend to say ums and ahs a little too much as well. So this is part of why I like to do this on the simulator and just get my bearings and maybe do some practice in the cheapest way possible. Boston Approach, Arrow 814 November Delta. Requesting flight following to Norwood. We had just left Keene at 5,500 feet.
Arrow 4 November Delta, squawk 2272 and ident.
22. Squawk 2272, and I just did the ident. 814 November Delta.
Arrow 4 November Delta, radar contact. 3 west of Jaffrey Airfield, Silver Ranch Airport at 5400 feet. Heading 137. Jaffrey altimeter 29.907.
2997, 814 November Delta. So yeah, that was that was a proper call. Jaffrey, which by the way is a great airport I would love to go to sometime because they've got a famous ice cream shop over there. The only problem is the runway.
Arrow 4 November Delta, own navigation.
Resume own navigation, 814 November Delta. Yeah, that. So, you know, this sort of thing is when you get flight following in real life. Yeah, sometimes they'll say resume own navigation, but usually it's implied when you're in space like this, especially. If I were getting flight following in a class Charlie, you know, usually they would specify resume own navigation or own navigation, whatever he said. But in reality, you usually only do that if you you know, they know I'm at own navigation. They didn't give me vectors before. I'm not in any like very restricted airspace like, you know, a class Bravo or class Charlie. So own navigation is a little redundant, but it is what it is. It's not a big deal for me. I also didn't catch if he actually said Boston or Nashua. We'll have to see what they say afterwards, but one thing I'd like to, I'd like to play around with this a little bit, get an idea of how it responds to certain things, like if I squawk 7700 or, you know, which is the emergency squawk code, or even 7600. That would be kind of interesting. The one thing that Flight Simulator doesn't really simulate is light gun signals, so I'd have to see what say intentions would do there. Probably nothing at all. Besides maybe confirming that I am squawking 7600. So yeah, I'm a little bit off, a little low here. Let's get it back up to 5500. One thing about
Janet 294, cleared for residential chemtrail ops at or above flight level 350.
I'm
Chemtrail
sorry.
ops approved. Janet 294, have a great day.
Okay. Yeah,
Skyhawk 531 Echo
that's
Bravo,
very
Boston
funny.
approach radar contact.
Boston departure, Skyhawk 531 Echo Bravo, 2 miles east of Nashua at 1,500.
So yeah, the chatter. I guess the chatter is a little mix of weird one, just weird calls, and then you get hilarious calls like having Janet get approval for chemtrails ops. That's a good one. All right, yeah. I'm gonna see what I can do about the chatter. I mean, that's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I just, So over there to the right, is Wachusett Mountain. That's a very popular ski resort. Probably one of the busiest in in New England, just because of its proximity to Boston. There's a lot of weekend skiers who go there. It's very easy to take a day trip. This airport you might see just off my cowl there is Fitchburg. That's where I did one of my student solo flights, the cross-country solo. I did all of my training out of Providence, and I was in the Cessna 172s for all of that. So after I got my PPL, I transitioned to the Aero 3, which requires a complex endorsement because of the retractable gear and the constant speed prop. The blue lever here is a fixed pitch prop. Basically just has the throttle and the mixture. The constant speed prop gives you this extra blue lever, which determines...
Aero 4 November Delta, contact Boston approach on 124.4.
124.4, Aero 814 November Delta, thank you.
Aero 4 November Delta, you're welcome.
Yeah, they usually don't actually do that in real life. In fact, I should work on my SIA. We'll see if they respond to that. All right, you said 124.4, right? Boston approach, Aero 814 November Delta 5600.
Aero 814 November Delta, Boston approach. Good afternoon, Fitchburg altimeter 30.00.
JetBlue 183, traffic departing runway 27 climb and maintain 7,000, turn left, heading 210.
Climbing to 7,000 left to 210, JetBlue 183.
Cirrus 168 Delta Juliet, Boston approach radar contact. Turn left heading 360 vectors to match, then O navigation.
360 vectors to match, then O navigation, Cirrus 8 Delta Juliet.
So one thing you'll
Boston
notice
approach,
too
Skyhawk
is
172 Sierra Papa passing through 3600 for 5,000, heading northeast abreast of Hanscom Airport, 172 Sierra Papa.
102 Sierra Papa. I believe. Let me see. That might be a real life. Look this up here. Oh, I guess not. Okay. There was a Sierra Papa at my flight school that was pretty if I remember correctly, Sierra Papa was a G1000 aircraft with the Cessna. They're only one at the flight school. I've flown it a couple times, but I was mostly with the six-packs. And to this day, I'm in a six-pack. Nothing against the G1000. It's just I've never don't really have the opportunity that often. So yeah, my ground speed right now is 154, which is pretty good for the Aero. me see what my true airspeed is. Let's see, we've got a temperature of, what is that? -10? Ooh, it's cold. I should, oh yeah, the heat's already on. Okay, good. Alright. So let's see our temperature. So our real, I believe if I do this and I set it to, guess that, so my true airspeed is about 142. So I've got a tailwind of about 10 knots. But yeah, the Piper Arrow, it's not the fastest airplane. It's not a, you know, what you get with the Piper Arrow is it is a very stable aircraft.
Cessna 714 Lima, cleared for the visual on 8 left, maintain 90 knots.
Cleared visual 8 left, 90 knots, 714 Lima. November 168 Delta Juliet, Boston approach radar contact. Climb and maintain 7,000. Fly heading 127 vectors to Dunk K.
Climb maintain 7,000. Heading 127 to Dunk. Cirrus 168 Delta Juliet.
November 168 Delta Juliet, Boston approach radar contact. Climb and maintain 7,000. Fly heading 126 vectors to Dunk K.
So I'm getting a little close to these clouds here. I'm going to, I might just bring this down to 3,500 because I'm also about to encroach on the Bravo airspace here. So Bravo airspace shelf is at 4,000. And then it goes down to 3,000 as I get closer to Norwood. So that's what this outer ring here is for. So I need to make sure I get under that. Otherwise, I'll be busting the Bravo, and I don't want to do that. So although, well, one thing I do want to try is just test, say, intentions, see how they do with these kinds of situations. I hear it does a good job of enforcing airspace and stuff like that, but I would like to see if I can, I don't know, pull a November Romeo, the Vegas Buster. See if they respond to that. Tell them I'm not ready to copy, I'm flying. But for now, I am just trying to actually simulate a real life flight that I'm going to take over the weekend, so. So yeah, I'm below 4,000 feet, so I'm perfectly fine. I'm actually going to bring it down to 2,500 feet, just so that because then I'll be below the Bravo shelf as I get closer to Norwood. So I should expect, in fact, why do I do this? I should stay ahead of the aircraft. Put this as my standby. this back.
Arrow 814 November Delta, Boston departure. Contact Norwood Tower on 126.0.
26.0 Norwood Tower, 814 November Delta. So yeah,
Turning into 6 Alpha Lima traffic.
Alright, so let's see. We are. Oh. One thing I forgot to do was look at this, alright. Norwood Tower, 814 November Delta, full stop. And I didn't get the ATIS either. So let me do that real quick.
Arrow 814 November Delta, Norwood Tower, enter right downwind for runway 35.
Right downwind 35, 814 November Delta. That's an interesting call. Let me do this. Norwood Tower, 814 November Delta. We're coming from the northwest. Do you still want us to do right traffic 35?
Arrow 4 November Delta, Norwood Tower, enter right downwind for runway 35.
Right downwind 35, 814 November Delta. Alright, well that's interesting because that would take me...
Arrow 4 November Delta, enter right downwind for runway 35. Report when established.
Right downwind 35 will report 814 November Delta. Alright, that's unusual. Usually they would do a left pattern from where I'm coming from for 35, but oh, actually, okay. Okay, maybe. It's hard to say. It's, no, I would be, yeah, I'm gonna be, yeah, alright, sorry. I'm thinking to myself here, I guess it is kind of a little more of a judgment call than I thought. So, I'm gonna have to look for, this airport here. I don't have it in sight yet, but I know that I'm pointing towards it. So let's get the ATIS. So that was 1995. I should have gotten this before. That's what I get for talking. I should have had a more sterile cockpit here.
HT visibility 10. Sky conditions, solid overcast at 7500 feet. Temperature 7. Dew point -6. Altimeter 3002. Density altitude -900 feet. Arriving and departing runways 35, 28 advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact you have information Golf. Norwood Memorial Airport.
Alright, I found the airport. So, I'm going to enter the right downwind. Once again, I find that interesting because I'm coming in from the left, but...
Citation 4, Tree Mike Whiskey, proceed direct to the ILS approach runway 27.
Yeah, you
Proceeding
see,
direct to the
right
ILS
there,
approach runway 27, citation 4, Tree Mike Whiskey.
that radio...
Skyhawk Tree Alpha Zulu, Roger Skyhawk Tree Alpha Zulu. N070 SB contact departure on 124.1.
That, yeah, that chatter makes no sense. There is no runway 27. There's a runway 28, which also is not the active runway anyways. And unlike CTAF, the tower, you don't get other airports on tower frequency. So that's completely unrealistic. Um, so yeah, he said report when established, and usually I consider that to be midfield downwind. So we're almost there. I also really need to slow this thing down.
Arrow 4 November Delta, winds 310 at 8, gusting 20, runway 35, clear to land.
Runway 35 clear to land, 814 November Delta. Alright, so we've got some heavy winds coming up. So, yeah, I'm a little bit below pattern altitude. But let's start our gumps. So, fuel pump is on. Undercarriage. Mixture is rich. Propeller max. And yeah, for longer flights, I would definitely be leaning the mixture. I probably should have done that here as well, but okay, flaps 1. Yeah, a little low, but it's no biggie. Alright, we got 3 green. One thing I probably should have done was not do this on a live stream. Just it's not really conducive to concentrating on actually flying the airplane, I guess. I do like to talk. Alright, we are on final. You'll notice that I am actually a little high. I thought I was low, but that's okay. Flaps full. And we're going to try to keep it at around 75 or so. Yeah, so I'm feeling the gust actually. Not very keen on that. Gusting winds are not my favorite. Alright.
Skyhawk 505, Alpha Mike extend downwind, I will call your base. Roger, extending downwind, Skyhawk 505, Alpha Mike.
Okay.
Kodiak 5 Juliet Tango negative. You are in controlled airspace. Make request after you're outside of my airspace.
Jeez.
At 1,000 feet, heading 120.
Yeah, so
Arrow 4 November Delta, welcome to Norwood. Contact ground on 121.8.
21.8, ground point 8, 814 November Delta. Norwood ground, 814 November Delta, north parking.
Arrow 4 November Delta, taxi to wharf parking via Alpha Delta. Have a great day.
Alpha Delta, north parking, 814 November Delta. Let me just make sure I got this right. Delta.
Arrow 4 November Delta, taxi to wharf parking via Delta.
Wharf parking via Delta, 814 November Delta. So yeah, that's another case of it, like kind of.
Arrow 4 November Delta, taxi to wharf parking via Delta approved. Have a great day.
Yeah, that's just another case of it repeating itself over and over again. It's like you give, unless I'm getting the taxi instructions wrong, that it shouldn't repeat itself like that. So, one thing that's thing that I love right here is just the fact that there is no traffic to worry about on the ramp. So I don't even have to use the tow bar. The tow bar is my worst enemy as a private pilot. It is probably I will be able to master everything else. If I wanted to become a commercial pilot, do IFR, do aerobatics, do everything, all the endorsements, tow bar will still be the last thing I master. Parking the damn airplane is always my least favorite part, but here I don't have to worry about it. So right here, all right. So I'm gonna turn off the battery, turn off the alternator, bring this down. Okay, got that. All right. Prop is shut off, so now we can turn off the magnetos. That's another important thing. Shutting down the aircraft is just as important as turning it on properly. There's a pretty rigid sequence. You want to first turn off the, especially the avionics switch if you have it, because what would happen is if you turn off the engine while your avionics are running, you run the risk of a power surge frying your electronics, and you don't want that. And then after you've cut the mixture, you want to wait for the prop to stop before you turn the key. That just reduces the risk of there being extra fuel or any, I guess it's extra fuel. I have to review that actually. You do run the risk of the prop basically being a little bit wound up, and you can either cause, I guess you run the risk of extra fuel in the reservoir causing a fire the next time you start it up, if I remember correctly. I have to review that. It's just something that was debriefed to me at one point. And oh, I might not be live streaming anymore. Let's see. Okay, maybe I am. Okay. Yeah, okay. You don't have to tell me twice here. Okay. So we just do our tie downs. Cabin door. I like to do the left and right yoke so that it's that sort of simulates me securing the controls. And then yeah, that's it. So yeah, debriefing myself. I should have leaned the mixture during the cruise. And I did notice that I left the fuel pump on. I do need to get better at that. It's been a few months since I've flown, so I just need to get back into it. So the next flight I take, I'll try to make it less error prone. But yep, that's it. So, and hope you enjoyed the stream, and I'll see you later.